All right, I'm going to call to order the Monday, September 19th Broadband Authority meeting. And for those listening, Mr. Frazier is joining us by Zoom for personal reasons, I believe.
I don't know. Is this a medical reason or personal reason, Mr. Frazier?
Be a medical.
Okay, that does.
Thank
no
you for the
limit.
clarification.
No limit for that. So, and he's in the county. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, if everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Minutes for adoption. Thank you, Margaret.
You have two versions there. I just want to make sure that you understood.
May 2nd, July.
There are the two joint meetings with the Board of Supervisors, very short meetings. Technically, the board has adopted minutes, but I don't think the Broadband Authority has adopted minutes for those short meetings. And
Okay.
I can share with you the board minutes, and then you might make a small set of minutes for Broadband Authority.
Okay. Great.
Just to dot all the i's and cross all the t's.
If there's nothing further, I move that we adopt the minutes, the second version of the Broadband Authority minutes for August 15th, 2022.
A second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, that brings us to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak?
Can you hear me? Hey, I'm Mark Anderson for the Piedmont District. I read the attachment to the agenda carefully. I think the schedule of payments is well thought out. Whoever did it, I think I know who. Taking into account the political realities of this. It's one, but I will point out one thing I noticed, which is the contract period is 36 months, which is 9 quarters, if I did the math correctly. The payment schedule is either 8 quarters or 9, depending on whether you credit this payment as being a quarter into it. Meaning we're going to pay the whole thing a year before total performance is due. And I think there's a clause in the performance contract in the body application and or the regional authority contract that says we only have to pay if a certain amount of miles of fiber get pulled in certain stages and all that. So I assume you'll get to the point where we paid all the money we're supposed to pay, but the project isn't finished. And that's something we don't have direct control over, except to protest vigorously to the regional authority and body. If we don't think they've actually performed on the contract, they will. But we can take this conversation up again 2 years from now and see where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Anyone else for public comment? See, we have one person on Zoom. If you're interested in speaking during public comment, please raise your Zoom hand. Other than Mr. Frazier, who can speak anytime he wants. All right, not seeing any hands, we will close public comment. And move into the regular agenda item. Anything new on the?
Nothing new added to agenda item E1. If the body would like, I can speak to the payment schedule and the fiscal agent agreement, just really high level.
That'd be great.
Sure.
As your speaker pointed out, the the rate of payment into the regional commission will have this community and all of the 8 localities paying into the regional commission prior to the end of the project. And so what that fiscal agent agreement envisions is that the regional commission will be holding all of this money, and they will only pay it out when the DHCD authorizes the various milestones along the way. And after DHCD pays their share, so all points will submit a bill that they've passed whatever metric that's in the agreement. That'll go through DHCD at the state. DHCD will review it, determine whether it is they've met whatever milestones need to be met to be paid that amount. DHCD will pay that amount less retainage. Then based on that, that is makes an automatic payment from the regional commission of the locality's pooled money in their account, separate account from the regular account, to all points for our part. So it's a long process that our worst concern would be the project goes so fast that they need to pay out faster than our money's in there. We would hope to be that fortunate.
I don't think that's the worst case scenario.
Well, that would mean we would need to possibly come up with money faster than already planned, which may be difficult to do on a cash flow basis. And then the other side is that once the regional commission is holding all the money, if there are problems with the project, then the commission is holding our money in their account. It's not gone to the contractor, it's in the regional commission. And so we would have to work with the commission to get our money back or whatever based on the provisions of the contract between the regional commission and BOT and DHCD and the regional commission and all points.
That's still not the worst case scenario.
What's the worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario is that we run out of money before we run out of project.
Oh, well, if there are extra fees or something like.
Yes,
Right.
overruns, inflation.
Yeah.
Additional charges that get added on.
But that would be a breach by the contractor, which is possible.
Well, it does say in the agreement that we signed that basically at the end of 2026, we'll regroup. That's sort of how they leave it.
If it
There's
delays.
not really a promise to get everything done by the end of 2026.
Which would be the ARPA deadline.
All right, anything else on that topic?
I have brought the file and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions people have about whatever.
We've never really had a discussion. I mean, Mr. Anderson brings up an interesting point. I mean, we're putting our own money in first, and later we're putting in other parties' money. And I just wonder what the implications are if we are paying in money from a third party, but the project doesn't get executed, and there might not be an opportunity to get that money back. But I don't guess our legal counsel is with us this evening.
No, my thought would be we have to refer to each of the different funding agreements. So there's a specific agreement with Vegas, I don't know how you pronounce it, Foundation.
Vegas, I think.
Vegas. And so that was written such that the last in on cash. And then the Path Foundation just has their standard grant terms, but told us it's half in FY23 and half in FY24. So if the project dies on the vine somehow, then I'm sure the Path would want their money back.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's risk out there, and right now until, well, once the body pays NSR fees in this Northern Shenandoah Valley Regional Commission. If it dies on the vine while the commission's holding the money, then I think that would be fairly clean. But once the project is partially done, I think it could get complicated based on the fiscal agent agreement. It would be clean, but once we're mid-project and if something unforeseen happens, I think it's a valid question of how would all that get sorted out?
I think the way it's worded, that all points is come out ahead no matter what happens.
Yeah, I don't.
Anything else? No? All right, treasurer's report.
Yes, the treasurer's report are attached. There's not much to see there. That's not it. Miss Nick ran it and then she reran it just a day later after getting the check from the schools. I'm opening the same thing all the time.
I did that.
So you can see here, you've got the 310, which is ARPA, the 370 from the schools, not shown here yet is PATH, which I've received communication from PATH. Their funding will be issued on the 22nd. And that's why my recommendation for action on their invoice is that payment be contingent on actually receiving those dollars. And once that happens, what this doesn't show here is that you've got the 140 or so thousand from the 350,000s that what you didn't spend, whatever's left over. You also have that.
Excellent. Well, then I will move to authorize payment of expenditures as presented contingent on receipt of funds from the PATH Foundation and RCPS.
Our CPS is in hand already, so
Yes.
that's done.
Okay, right. In the bank.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, you will second. Discussion?
And did you get, I know you had some outstanding questions, Mr. Frazier. Did you?
Well,
Last meeting.
I still have that unanswered question about the cost to folks that are supposedly served by the Comcast area, but not.
Yes, I just to respond to that, I did say in the last meeting, I thought it was in the granted application. I could not find it.
But this brings up a point, and I hate to be, the kind of person, especially since I'm not there, to kind of stare at you, but I gave y'all a letter the day that this thing was voted on, saying that it was not in the paperwork at that time. I don't know why the authority or the board thought it was in there, 4 months later.
Right, what the application does say over and over and over again is universal coverage. And so I have posed the question through to all points in regional commission and waiting a response.
Didn't get much of a response for them for months leading up to that, the vote to buy into it.
I don't disagree that they didn't come before you when you asked them to.
Time and time again.
Can you summarize that question again, Mr. Frazier, just to refresh my memory? Please.
Well, Mr. Carr is the one that told us right there in person. He, wasn't on the phone. I'm pretty sure it was in person. He said that anybody that was within these areas served by like Comcast or some other provider, that they were facing some special construction fee or cost to have service ran to them, that they would be included in the all point service, and they would also be included at that, $199 or whatever it was, but that never materialized into print. So we have a neighbor right across the road that has a school-age child that they Comcast went at $4,300. I have an individual out the road. He told him over $25,000, and another family out on Rollins Ford Road, they quoted them $83,000, and Comcast is supposed to be, their provider. They're without that specific language, and that's what I questioned y'all on, at the meeting in May when this thing was adopted by the board and the authority, that we were moving too fast. We didn't have the protections in place for some reason, months ago, they thought it was in place. It's, the language never was in there.
It's been a while for me, Mr. Fraser, but when I signed up my home on Bear Wallow, which I was told 40,000 from Comcast, when I put in my address, the All Points website asked me if I had a provider, and I told them that Comcast was on the road, but that I'd gotten the 40,000 somehow in that app, in that website, and I can't remember it completely. And that I was told I would be added to the list for All Points, but again, there's nothing in writing.
That was my problem way back then.
Right.
Well, I think today, I think we're just trying to be prepared to move forward with this. And my thinking is that we did not sign up for a project that cherry picks. We signed up for a project that is universal and is a whole jurisdiction solution. If it's not, there's a big problem.
Right. But
I don't think we have enough lawyers on our side to pick through everything that they've written. And I don't think that that's the intent here. I think the intent is to get universal coverage in Virginia. And I think with the backing of Virginia and federal dollars, that's the goal. I think
right. I understand all that. But
I think the tricky thing for us is going to be just making sure that we have no individual as this process goes through that's left. As a private business, All Points Broadband needs to sign up as many people as they can so that they can make money in a place like Rappahannock, where otherwise they would not do this project at all. So I hear
all that sounds good,
and,
Mr. Carney, but
yeah.
what does that actually mean?
What do you mean? What does that actually mean?
What does it actually mean?
I mean, there will be addresses that they will not want to serve because it will be incredibly expensive to deliver to those addresses and it won't be cost effective.
So they've
And so, excuse me, I didn't interrupt you when you were talking. I'm not finished. And so what we're trying to do is establish protections for folks in those areas to make sure that they are served as we have been verbally told they will be served. But I have to tell you, watching this unroll in other jurisdictions, my understanding is that if people are already receiving service or are eligible for service from one provider, that the ARPA or any of those funds, the body funds, can't be used to deliver service to their homes. And so I just wonder, before we start to put money in, if we shouldn't seek clarification on this point, because it is a critical point for our county.
So what I was going to say is that they have assured us that all of those very difficult places they will do, so long as if there's a special construction fee. We can't go in and add our own language to any of these contracts. So I don't know if they're all, and it's done. That part of it's done. What we can do is if they start to go down the process and they're not doing the job, we raise hell, and that's what I will do. And
We're not a party to the contract.
Well, so this is a state project, and this is the way that I think about it. I think about it in terms of what is the right thing to do and what is the right thing to do for the community. And if they're not doing the right thing, that it will be known. And it will look like they are pulling the wool over and they're trying to get away and they're trying to go under the wool and they're trying to just basically turn a profit and not serve everybody. That is, a place that I would think I would just come out and say, you know what, this is not right. We're not doing this and we'll fight it. And I would do that because that's not right.
But under the terms of the contract, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Under the terms of the contract, we would have already paid 100% by then. And we're not a party to the contract.
We've paid through a third party. So they meet it out. And you can say what you say about the state government, but I think that there's protection in numbers and shared interest. So the way that I think about it is that since we are paying through, DHCD, and we have there's this Byzantine process of payment set up to protect everybody's interests. And is it going to work out perfectly? No. Do any of these larger projects ever work out perfectly? No. Is it going to go out without any problems? Sure, there's going to be a problem. But that's what you do when you do a large project. I mean, we don't.
No, it's not supposed to be like that with public funds.
Well, the state.
These are the types of things I try to keep bringing out, meeting after meeting. And now here we are talking about them again because we don't have those protections. They're not written.
The state is committed to fiber to the home for every citizen in the state. So we have the state's interest at hand as well. Comcast is not going to go to every home. They've already made that very clear, as did other purveyors. And we have a contract that clearly states fiber to the home for those that weren't served. And the definition of served at this time is still, was it 20, was it 50? No, if it's 25.3 or 25.3. And
Well, for body, it was higher.
right. And the feds keep going higher than that. I think they're at 150 at this point is their goal. So Comcast, as far as I know, at least at the tavern, I have to pay a fortune to get anything close to that speed. Where All Points is promising 59, 60 bucks a month.
But the definition of universal coverage is not every house. We haven't seen that in print.
Underserved.
Underserved, right.
So we don't know what that actually means. We never did find out what that actually means.
What, sir?
The definition of universal coverage and confirmation that meant everybody.
Universal only means one thing then. So if they are committed to doing universal underserved, it only means one thing.
That's what we kept, that's what.
Person that's
yeah.
underserved. It doesn't mean cherry pick, and that would not be universally. So I totally get your point, Mr. Fraser. Like I think that you have very valid concerns.
But they were never valid enough to get something in writing. That was the problem. I've heard it several times that I had good questions, valid points, but they were never valid enough for our board or for the 8-county region to actually get answers. That's the problem.
I think we got answers to a lot of them.
Well, and I would just say that myself and Ms. Panda worked very hard to express the questions of the authority and tried to influence change in the 8-county agreements. And we were successful in some areas and we were not successful in other areas. And so, based on that, we had to make decisions as a community on whether to join forces with a lot of people and a lot of money and the state or not. And we will keep
So
fighting.
this is the thing. Culpeper County has a separate contract with All Points, and they got the first body grant money, and that was under universal coverage. But yet they went ahead and applied for money under that second funding program this year, so that they could catch exactly the type of people that I'm talking about. So they didn't expect that universal coverage meant that the people that couldn't get served, under Comcast or some other provider, were going to be covered under the universal coverage. How come we didn't go far enough to do that?
It'd be very interesting to look at their agreement versus the regional agreement and potentially learn from whatever they've come to understand that caused them to go after a second round or FY23 body application.
I encouraged our county to do that, and I was basically it was frowned upon by the group. If Culpeper was doing it to get universal coverage, they went, through the second round of funding. Why didn't we do that?
I didn't know they were doing it until I saw that it was in the paper. They brought it to my attention, but
I do think, let me be very clear, that all of the parties involved in this regional agreement benefited, all of the counties benefited from the very active role that our attorney and our county administrator took in the process of refining those documents. Without a doubt, every single one. We tried to do a good job, and the document and the agreement, the final agreement is much better for it. I do think Mr. Frazier's point is one that we need to have resolved before I would want to pay money into a solution. And I just wonder if there's not an opportunity to get an answer to it before we agree to send our first payment.
I've asked, and the payments due October 1st, I don't recall right now what the consequences are of.
October 1st is a Saturday and our meeting's on the 3rd.
Yeah, right, this would be,
Like,
I don't know the consequence. And it's, I'm not a lawyer, let's preface that. The fiscal agent agreement envisioned the first payment being due July 1. None of the agreements were adopted by then. And so with the delay, we were told that it would be due October 1, but there's no change in the agreement. So I don't know if there's any legs with that.
Well, I can say this, I've heard back from so many constituents and I would not, I mean, I will clearly vote for this to go through today. And I think that if it's going to be held up, I think that I am going to have to, you know, I'm going to have to speak some truth that I disagree with. I don't think that would be the right thing to do for our constituents, most of which do not have and need the internet. They're flat out.
I don't disagree with
And I
you,
think
but
if
we
well, I
could
was just gonna
continue the
finish
meeting
up.
by a week.
I'm just gonna finish up.
They're not gonna have internet under this program for 2 full years or more.
So, but by Mr. Curry's point there, I would really hate to jeopardize a future timeline by asking the same question that we've already asked, which is a legitimate question, but I think we need to move forward. And I think if you guys are not prepared to move forward, well, so be it.
Well,
But the problem is, this thing has always moved forward, whether we thought it should or not.
There's always to be
That's the problem. The problem was it kept moving forward and we couldn't get answers. And now y'all wanted to keep moving forward and I still can't get an answer.
I mean, I have a lot of people in the district that I represent that are in very, very challenged areas for any sort of internet connection. And how can I, in good faith, but to start sending payments when the agreement that we have in place doesn't guarantee that they will be eligible for service?
Well, I think the only areas that are of debate are those areas that are white on the map, which is the Comcast area. If you're at the far reaches on top of Red Oak or something, those people are clearly in the area covered. It's those fringe areas where the edge of Comcast is, which Mr. Frazier has expressed concern. And the basis of my recent question to the Regional Commission in all points as to is universal. And you told us that special construction charge, if you have that, then you're covered. And so that only applies to those people on the fringe of the current Comcast area, not at the very distant parts of our jurisdiction where it will be most costly to provide this service by the provider.
Yeah, I think that those places that you're talking about, Mr. Curry, in my district especially, which is, and Mrs. Smith, your district as well, most of the people are underserved. Most of the people just don't even have it.
There's a lot of folks that don't. There's a lot of people that are getting good service with Starlink.
Well, Starlink, yeah, Starlink's been down for a week in my area. But anyway, so I don't know, folks, I feel ready to move on. I hear that you might not be. We have a vote on the table here. I really genuinely think this is the most important thing right now facing our county. Folks really, really need this. And I would hate to jeopardize our position in this. But I have but one vote.
Well, would you all be willing to continue the meeting and express again our need for an answer on this in order to move the project forward with funding?
Well,
We could continue to next Monday.
What if we don't get an answer?
Well, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
If we don't get an answer, I think that is our answer. then the man sold us a bag of goods.
I don't think that would be the case in my book. I don't think that I've talked to a single person who has said, you're gonna get taken for a ride on this. I think everybody has concerns. And I think if we ask the same question again, which we can, I have a feeling we're not gonna get an answer, and we're just pushing this business down for a week from now. And the other thing is that we need to keep asking questions. And let's not forget that we're not paying all points. We're not writing them a check. You know, I think that that's a big thing there.
Yeah, but Brandon, I forget his last name. He wouldn't contact us back either.
No.
So he's in the same boat as far as I'm concerned. I really have no confidence in either one of those.
We signed a contract.
No, I know it was a 3-2 vote because y'all didn't have enough respect for our questions back then.
We signed a contract. Any contract I sign personally for my business or whatever means I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do in that contract. And when a contract has a specific dates for payments, I live up to those because that is what I expect of anyone that owes me money. So to say we're not going to approve the first payment after we have told the citizens of Rappahannock County that they're going to have fiber to their home is rather embarrassing as far as I'm concerned.
Right, let's look at it this way. We're supposed to have a little bit more knowledge of how this process works than the average citizen. The average citizen, they don't care much about the details. It's kind of like going home and turning on the TV and watching something. They can't explain to you how the TV works, but they know whether it's Comcast or some satellite dish out there that brings it in. That's what they know. We're supposed to know the details. We can't get the details. So that's where we are right now.
I just think we do have an opportunity to get an answer to the question. Today is Monday, the 19th. If I read the timeline attached to the payments that we discussed correctly, we're receiving money on the 23rd. We could continue this meeting till the 26th, get an answer to our question, and move on. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be a very fruitful meeting. And I personally don't even want to take this vote because it's pretty clear how people feel. But I do think we should take the opportunity to get an answer to our question. I can tell you, I think I'm the only person at this table that worked for a telecommunications company. And if you don't have something in writing, you don't have anything. And I'm sorry to be the one to say it, but that's the bottom line.
That's Virginia courts as well. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Well, there'd be an argument between what universal coverage means in the courts.
That's the problem. That's never been defined properly.
Well, I think the VADI program did, and that's the application process that this all went through. It means something very much important to the state. So,
And a lot of those people involved in the VADI process had never worked in these processes before that payout.
I mean, it really is unfortunate. There's a lot of lack of oversight and things are behind schedule. But I do think that this isn't a critical detail that we should get right before we start sending payments. And we have the time to do it. I don't understand what the reluctance is.
Oh, I don't think there's reluctance. I don't think we're going to get an answer back. I'm fine to push it back to Monday. I was just asking you, if we don't get an answer back, are you willing to vote next Monday? And you don't have to answer that question. I was just saying, I'm willing to say yes right now for the people of Rappahannock, and I'm willing to go forward. I'm also willing to wait till next Monday, but if we don't get an answer, my position stays the same.
But I think it doesn't do us any good to say that one group of supervisors is for the people of Rappahannock and another group isn't, simply because we want to get answers to benefit all the people of Rappahannock County.
Oh, I wasn't. I was just saying myself. I've talked to so many people. People are so.
But what do they know about it? That's the problem. 10,000 people that don't know what they're talking about, their opinion is of little value. We're supposed to be the ones that have the information, and we don't have any information to form an intelligent opinion. That's the problem. That is a real problem.
The entire state is being done. I think All Points has 20 counties in the state.
20 counties. There's no possible way he's gonna be able to do that in the time frame. But this is old arguments.
I have no idea if he'll be able to get it done or not in the 3 years that we're expecting to have it done. I sincerely hope he does. But we signed a contract. We said we would pay the bills. We've got people and foundations sending us money to make sure we can pay the bills. And we're sitting here debating whether we're gonna pay the first bill. I don't believe it makes sense to wait. We can pay this bill and come back and see if they answer it by next month.
I just would say, I think that, you know, to say that you're doing it for the people of Rappahannock County. I mean, dialing into the details is also for the people of Rappahannock County. And wanting to get an answer to this question is also for the people of Rappahannock County. And if they aren't willing to answer it in the next week, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but months ago I said, why don't we tell these folks that our board is very divided and we need some answers? And the response I got from Mr. Whitson, who unfortunately is not here with us still, was no, absolutely not. But here we all sit and we're still divided, and it's very unfortunate. I'm not saying don't pay them. I'm not saying harpoon the program. I'm not saying put ourselves in legal jeopardy. I'm not saying any of those things. But what I'm saying is, while we have the time and the opportunity to get an important answer before we put money into it, perhaps we should take that opportunity to get that answer.
That's my position. I tried to get this information months ago.
And we still signed the contract.
I didn't sign it.
I'm asking you, please, as my peers, to withdraw your motion and second, and let's continue this meeting for a week and take an opportunity to get this right. I'm not saying it to be contentious. I'm not saying it to cause a rift on the board. I'm saying it because this is important.
We have constituents too. We think it's important to get all the information. We always did.
I'm fine to continue the meeting next Monday. I've said that. What I'm saying is that if we don't get an answer, and this is what I said before, and I'm not saying that anybody that's here to represent their constituents is not the people. I'm just saying that I will continue to say this. I want to do what I think is the right thing, and the right thing for me is to vote today, yes. I'm fine if you guys want to push it back till next Monday. I kind of think we're not going to have an answer. So that's it. So if you want to withdraw, I will.
You made the motion.
I'll withdraw the motion. And then
I'll withdraw the second.
to continue the meeting.
You
have to make a
open
motion?
board discussion first, or?
Yeah, we should probably end board discussion
We are,
It worked.
I think you're in the treasurer report. And
to pay the bills, yeah.
the next item is open board session, and before you withdraw.
Wait, there's no other bills to pay. are there?
No, I think you're done with the treasurer's
Okay,
report, maybe, I don't know.
all right, so you withdrew. Now we can go into board discussion. Is that what you're saying, Mr.
right.
Berg?
Right,
So do we need to
Thank you
make?
both for doing that.
you just need to do that instead of adjourn,
Gotcha.
but
We're
you
not-
can have open board discussion first.
Yep.
If you want.
All right. On to open board discussion.
Can we just continue?
Continue the meetings
Continue.
next Monday.
With a, sure,
Does anybody
to
have-
include open board discussion.
Are we all clear on the question that's being posed and to whom it is being
Yes,
posed?
well, I've already posed the question to both the regional commission and Mr. Carr. I will now reiterate the chain of events that occurred today. Or
Thank you.
iterate, I guess, and reiterate if have to.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
And thank you both for withdrawing the motions.
And if there's no other open board discussion, then someone could make a motion to continue the Broadband Authority meeting to September 26th at presumably 5:30 in the county courthouse.
That
So-
sounds, what, did you beat me to it? Second.
I think you did that.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue to the 26th at 5:30.
5:30.
here in the courthouse. One of you was the motion, the other was a second.
So
Yeah,
it's just.
Mr. Carney made the motion and I had. the
Before you
second.
jump in, that,
Yep,
are you all going to be here? Are you-
I was checking my
I'm
calendar,
checking.
yes,
I
I
can.
can be here, yes.
Mr. Fraser, can you be here one way or the other on Monday, the 26th?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, see you on Monday.
Thank you.
See you, Mr. Fraser.
Thank you.
Mr. Fraser.
Thank you. See y'all later.